Alright, testing. Is anything working? No, typical. Ah! Hello everyone, give me 1 second. You can tick off your bingo card of things not working. Oh, goodness me. Hang on, get these subtitles going. Let's try that. Is that working? There we go. It works eventually. Hello everyone. Hello. My name is Fiona. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a white woman who's wearing, if you can't see it, says Bad Wolf on my t-shirt. There's sort of like a heather grey, which I quite like. My hair's done up as well. I've got a new hair clip. It's like a ticket stub, which basically my hair's so long now that I have to put it up. And this is, of course, as ever, Too Long Didn't Read TTRPGs, an accountability read-along stream in which Fiona, your wonderful host, gets to read something from the bookshelf of doom or the Google Drive of mystery. How are you doing, friends? Apologies, as always, for this has been delayed by a day, and then delayed getting onto the thing, because essentially OBS decided just not to show my screen capture for actually showing not just the PDFs, but also I try and look at where we see the where we can buy the games that we're looking at, and I wanted to show something in context of that, and it just decided it wasn't going to show it, and I'm now going, come on, you've done this, and it's like, no. Anyway, we're all good. Hello Hogan, nice to see you here, my friend. Hope you're all doing well. There was some exciting stuff happening over on RP Geeks. We've got our Call of Cthulhu happening next week, which we're very excited for. And we've also announced our next actual play as well, which is Sharmany's Kids on Bikes hack called Urchins. And you have to do that sort of almost like Oliver type sort of jump in the air as we're doing it. Very Breakfast Club, I think, as well. So we're very much looking forward to that as well. So all the actual play stuff happening. But I'm now phew, back, and then I've had a busy 3 days as well. I was meant to say that at the beginning. I had busy 3 days at the start of things where I'm just trying to get lots of things done, things getting cancelled or swapped at the last minute, and I'm just last night I was doing a final recording and I was stood up and the co-host, the guest host was like, are you okay? And I was like, I've got a cold, not feeling great, blah, 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 world's on fire, but I feel a lot better today. I also had a dentist appointment. I am in adult mode. Anyway, friends, let all that away. I hope you're okay wherever you are in the little world. And yeah, let's get started with today's Too Long Didn't Read TTRPG. Today, friends, we are looking at Wickedness, a RPG that has been published by Possum Creek Games, but is written, I believe, by Nightling Bug, is what I've seen on their itch.io page. This is a peculiar tabletop game written for exactly 3 players, 1 tarot deck, and no dice and no GM. Together, the players are going to form a coven between 3 mystical archetypes: the innocent and gentle pure of heart, the volatile revelrous wild spirit, and the uptight and scholarly old soul, and try to keep your world of magic and mystery in balance with the mundane world, in spite of its ignorance, poverty, and violence. That is the sort of pitch we're doing today. Now, I want to bring to people's attention that this game was recently sort of talked about on a Rascal article last month. I'm a big fan of Rascal. I want to say that up the top. I'm a big fan of TTRPG journalism. It helps me stay informed and whatnot. And Dicebreaker used to do a little bit of that. Funny how they switched from board games to TTRPGs during the pandemic, but you know, beggars can't be choosers. And then Rascal obviously came out of that as well. And it was interesting because the reason is, and I'm going to, I'll show it to folks before we get in. There was a column last month. It's called Lay It on the Table by one of the Rascals, one of the sort of lead writers on it, called Chase, who I'm very admiring of their work. And they wrote, my TTRPG campaign, also my role-playing group mercy killed our last campaign. And I admit I couldn't read the whole article because I'm not a fully paid member, so apologies for that. But it talked at the beginning of it, as it says here, misreading the rules is an indelible part of tabletop role-playing games. And how it sort of talked about, they misread the rules to this particular game, Wickedness, and it was so bad as a result. What they'd created was different to what was in the rules, that they had to stop playing. And I think that's really interesting. As somebody who obviously spends a lot of time reading rules and learning and trying to create the experience, I find it kind of wild that, I don't know. Again, is this because of the game itself? The layout wasn't as helpful, wasn't as accessible? Was it a fault of the players? I mean, I assume what in the full article it does talk about it being slightly the fault of the players for not or misremembering rules, because it does happen, right? We've all been there. And I was thinking back to myself about times that that's happened where I've done something that I think is really cool in the game, and then I've read the rules later and gone, oh, that's not what it is at all. And I remember my friend Ty from Side Character Quest, he was talking about how he had a game that he was like a one-on-one game. He specialises in one-on-one, two-player RPG games for his podcast. And how they played through a game, and then halfway through they realised they got the rules wrong, and they finished it at the end, and then they were like, oh, what we did was much better. And I think it's a really interesting thing where you interpret something completely different to how the game is being played, and it's better. I have that feeling a lot with TV shows and films. I have it with Doctor Who quite a lot, where I'll see the trailer and go, oh, it has to be this. Oh my god, that's going to be amazing because you do this, this, and this. And then you watch it and go, oh, that was nothing what I thought it was going to be at all. I like my story better. And so I find it really interesting. So that I wanted to pick Wickedness again. It's been on my list for a long time. Again, here you see the physical version of it. It's got these free sort of books. But I wanted to talk about it a little bit and see, like, again, what would it be if you were playing this game, like, what are the pitfalls of people getting the game wrong, in quotation marks? So that's what we're sort of looking at today. So I'm very excited to do that. As always, so let me go back to Big Fiona face for a second. So as always, let's do some disclaimers. One, I have not been sponsored by anyone to do this. Oh no, that's usually the second one, isn't it? But I'll do that anyway. I'm not been sponsored to do this. I do this out of my own sort of like interest and passion. I love reading games and I love finding out new bits and pieces about them. And this is a game that's been on my list for a little while. So naturally, the author, whose name I've completely forgotten. Let me give it a sec. Veleslak, Postal Creek Games. They've not sponsored me to do this at all. I have my own copy of this game. So yeah, this is me sort of looking at it for the first time, and I'm looking at it from the point of view of like, would this be something I'd introduce to people that I know as a home game, or maybe is it something I would do for content? I do know there is a podcast that is out now. This is where I'm going to look for it now. That uses this system. I'm going to have to remember what the person's name is. Let me find. Yes, Jacob Wolf Lefton, I believe their name is. Sorry, I'm double checking. Yes, is it the Witches of Wenderkeep? Is that the one? I think it is that one. Perhaps. Audio. Yes, exactly that. Hang on. Go back. Sorry, we're moving around a lot. Ignore that. But basically, yes, I met this person, Jacob, at a Dragon Meet last year, and they were putting together a podcast which used this system, the Wickedness system, the Witches of Wenderkeep. I believe that's what it is. Yes, an audio novel directed and narrated by Jacob. Yeah, that's the person there. And yeah, and they were saying how what the system was really interesting and stuff like that. And also, the artwork seems to have changed a lot since I last saw it. But there you go. So that's maybe something people can go check out if they're interested. Anyway, normally the first disclaimer, but now the second disclaimer, I'm not a game designer. I read a lot of RPGs, I run a lot of RPGs, and I, try and find out as much as I can about it and try and be as informed as I can. I've never written my own game. I've never thought about game design, I come at it mostly from a GM's point of view or a facilitator's point of view, as well as maybe a little bit of a player's as well. So please take any critique I give with a pinch of salt. It's always going to be a little bit from the accessibility side as well. Like a lot of the stuff I'm reading is online rather than having a physical form. Again, it's just easy to show folks on a stream the the digital copy rather than the physical copy. Maybe one day I can have like a full-on top-down thing, like I think it's Bud RPG Reviews has, and go through it like that. I'm not as patient as that could be. And what's the final thing? Content warnings. Well, again, there may be witches involved, but it talks about this idea of maybe the old world and new world, ignorance, poverty, violence. So any of those things that it's about a group of people coming together to be a part of a community facing from the outside world. That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting from here. If anything else should come up as a result, I will make sure to try and flag it as I see it, but equally keep yourselves safe. I appreciate this might not be the game for you, so come back if and when you're ready. Amazing. I can see my Discord is popping off in terms of notifications. I hope I've not been cancelled. I don't think I have. It's just no, it's something else. That's fantastic. All right, let's go into the game itself. Let's go back to the screen. So you can get this game. Obviously the link to it is in the VOD description. You can do it again here, and it's also in the chat as well. Admittedly, that link is to DriveThruRPG, and it is, I will say, an affiliate link because I'm like going any little help helps me. But I'm going to look at it in the context of where you can get it on itch. Like I said, you can get it on Possum Creek Games website. You can also get it on DriveThruRPG. But I wanted to show you this because I think this is where its home is, and it gives you a lot of information. Like I can show you what it looks like on DriveThruRPG. Looks meh, doesn't give you anything again or whatever, but you can see a nice copy or a nice nice full art of the cover there, which I really love. So yeah, just to describe the cover, it says Wickedness Rulebook, and it's like an old-fashioned, like almost like a fairy tale book. You've got a very nice sort of, I want to say navy blue, and then like these gold details, and it has 3 individuals which are pouring something into a cauldron. And it's got like a little filigree around the side of it there with the sun shining behind them. And each of the 3 individuals look sort of like young, middle-aged, and slightly older, perhaps to indicate sort of the 3 different phases of this game. So, Wickedness. Gonna zoom in a little bit because even I'm like, gosh, that writing is teeny tiny. And then I'm gonna move this across. She says, try not to break any of the things like last time. There we go. So, we've already sort of said that bit at the top. So Wickedness is a purely tabletop game. So the game itself, it says here, Wickedness is played in 3 acts. The first, the players discover the Coven, the sanctuary that they call home, mundane, fantasy nation, and the treacherous underworld lurking beneath it. Each player will be assigned one of the 3 Coven archetypes, so the pure of heart, the old soul, and the wild spirit, by the tarot deck, and then together they'll create the world where they live, and the underworld's strange laws and denizens. Ooh, am I about to sneeze? No. Trying to not sneeze. God, it's a state of limbo when you try not to sneeze. Finally, they'll ask heavy-hitting questions about Coven's relationships to one another. In the second chapter, the cards point to a series of challenges detailed in the game's interpretation guide, and the players respond. The Coven can fall prey to their archetypes' specific follies in order to collect cards, spend cards to resolve challenges with wisdom, or use the vast and terrible magic powers at their fingertips, which is miraculous, but costs the user a piece of their essential nature, striking out and maybe even blackening and replacing a truth on their character sheet. So the players have to strike a balance between keeping the worlds from falling into darkness and keeping one another from falling apart. That's quite a cool line, isn't it? If the scales tip too far in either direction, it's entirely possible for the game to come up to an abrupt and apocalyptic end. The final chapter tempts the Coven to go to their separate ways, but also offers them opportunities to learn from their past mistakes and heal. And finally, they face their ultimate fates, determining the future of the kingdom and the underworld and the art of magic itself. Amazing. Wickedness uses a bespoke tarot drawing system loosely inspired by J. Dragon's Sleepaway, and is a distant descendant of Outside Belonging framework developed by Avery Alder and Benjamin Rosenbaum. Oh man, am I going to sneeze again? No. Oh gosh, I'm on a precipice here. Here's something interesting though. So you've got some actual plays here, but there you've got an actual play of Wickedness with Brennan Lee Mulligan, Yeon Shim, and J Dragon also playing it through. How cool is that? So yeah, I like how again on this store page you can see a game of it being played. The game itself certainly here is about $20 USD. So what's that, about 15, 16, 17 UK pounds? Mileage may vary elsewhere. And yeah, what you'll see is that we've got all these different beautiful covers. One for each book. Oh, it's going to take ages to load. Oh, there you go. Got play pages there, etc. So you think to yourself, oh, it's going to be 3 separate books. There we go. 3 separate books. And the answer is no. It's all one PDF. And I do think this is maybe the first reason why someone might struggle, because it's like you're not reading all the way through. You're just reading the bits and then following on from that. I think that's the case here. If we look at the spreads as well, some examples of spreads, again, it looks really pretty, doesn't it? Like, again, the sort of text looks fairly big. Got some beautiful little art here as well. And, yeah, interesting. Yeah, look at this, some beautiful artwork that we can see from the preview pages. So yeah, I'm very curious to see this and how it plays out. Again, like I said, I've not read it through and I haven't played it. It's always interesting to have games that are specifically for 3 players, you know? Very rare. And also, maybe because of the subject matter as well, it's not, it doesn't feel like it's a one-shot, does it? To take your time with it and all that sort of thing. And from what I read in the Rascal article, they did their own sort of take on what was happening. And again, I don't know if that's part of the game that you've got these archetypes, but then you really customize it. So I don't know. I just thought it was really interesting. Anyway, with all that out the way, let's get to... Oh, no, that one. Who's the artist for this? The interior looks great. Well, why don't we... Ooh, I don't know if it will say it in more information. It probably does not. No, it does not. But we can see it when we go to the actual... book here. Let me fiddle around with my... Oh, why does that do that? That's so weird. Alright, hang on. As you can tell, old Fiona Howard here is struggling. Alright, so we zoom out a bit, and yes, I will find out who the artist is in a second. So, the full PDF itself is 139 pages, but again, it is split into these 3 different sections. We've got the rule book, we've got the play pages, and I think we've got, what's the other one called? I've completely forgotten now. So, the interpretation guide as well. So maybe it's that sort of thing where if you read the first book, you're like, right, well, I don't need to read the other 2. I think that's kind of interesting. So maybe having more, maybe this interpretation guide, there should have been more examples of it. That, again, this is just going off of what was said in the article itself. But let's look here. So looking through, yeah, Possum Creek Games, yada yada. Is there any this stuff in terms of credits? Maybe if I'm going to zip to the end. Don't look, spoilers, everyone. Woo! That's backers. Thank you, everyone. Let's see if I can find. So we've got the writer there, and we've got the copy editor. In addition, narrative tabletop. Doesn't... Maybe I'm being a foolish person, but I can't necessarily see it. Maybe don't. Maybe we should look at... Maybe, tell you what, I'm going to have a Google. Ooh, back up we go. Have a Google, quick Google. Okay, so on DriveThruRPG, it says Tucker Donovan and Ruby Lavin are the folks that have are the artists. That's who's credited here. But I click on their... They don't seem to have any other work on DriveThruRPG, but those are the folks there. So yeah, Tucker Donovan and Ruby Lavin are the ones that do the artists. Who are the artists? Do the artists. Silly Fiona. Alright, well, let's go into it. So, interesting. As I click on the page, there is a little bit of text, but no alt text that I can see, which is interesting. So again, there is a tiny bit. It says, it gives the basic of the lettering. So it says Wickedness Rulebook by M. Veles... I'm going to say this wrong. Veleslak. It just says that. It doesn't give a description of what the thing is, which is fine. Again, it's better than nothing, especially when, well, they're just screen readable, to be fair. So, anyway, moving right along. Oh, it says here. Oh, it's Fiona. So yeah, so Tucker Donovan is the front colour illustration, and then the book designer is Ruby Lavin. So yeah, so presumably Ruby was the one that did the interior illustrations there. All right. So, going on to the table of contents. So as I said, this whole PDF is technically 3 books put together. So we have the rule book at the top, which is what we're going to probably be looking at the most today. And then we've got the play pages after that. And then the interpretation guide. So the interpretation guide presumably is to do, I can see here, with the challenges, with the tarot card pulls. Play pages, I'm not entirely sure what that is. Presumably that, that's probably playbooks and character sheets. I can see Pure Heart there, I can see Wild Spirit and Old Soul. And so, yes. I guess instantly the thing to me is like, why did it have to be all one PDF when it's 3? Maybe it's because they didn't want people to miss stuff. I wonder maybe because it felt like in that article, Chase, the writer, was saying like, well, you know, we read the first book, didn't need the others until they came up, perhaps. So I do find that interesting. I wonder then, maybe again, if I was person said you should read all 3 books before you start playing, just to give you an idea, maybe more play examples. That's the only thing I can say from that. Again, haven't read too much into this book yet. But yeah, my plan today is go through at least this first book, which is about, about 40 pages is this first rule book. And yeah, it's another 40 pages, another 40, they're roughly about 40 pages each, which is not too bad for 3 short books, I think. Also, lots of white space, I would say, as well. So, let's start at the beginning, shall we? The coven lies in the sanctuary, 3 figures bound by fate to one another, and to the movements of the 2 worlds, and to magic itself. It's not an easy or normal life. The natural order should be a harmony between the coven mates, and between the underworld and the kingdom above. But where wisdom does not reach, wickedness may dwell. Ooh, I like that. What a great opening. Love that. Then it says, the coven also lives within these 3 booklets, in the deck of tarot cards, and in the hearts of 3 players. That's all you need to meet them. That and some pencils. Wickedness is a role-playing game where you, your deck, and 2 friends will uncover the story of the coven. Each of you will take on the role of one of the coven mates, but your fellow players and the deck itself will often help you define your coven mate. Will often help you define your coven mates around the edges. Otherwise, everyone has an equal hand in portraying the 2 worlds and their inhabitants, and interpreting the cards' decisions. Nice. Interesting how, about this book, like the titles are going to be at the bottom, I think. I don't know if people can see that. How interesting. I will zoom in maybe a little bit more. Oh, I was wrong about that, but look at that beautiful artwork. I love that sort of like, almost like a, oh, I'm going to get it wrong, but like it is a print, it's a block print, right? We see like an individual, oh, maybe there's no alt text. Oh, so sad. It looks like an individual that's doing some gardening, but around them they've got little like leaves or little filigree. All in green. Nathan says, interesting to have it specifically 3 players, very thematic. Yes, absolutely. If anyone here has put hags in D&D or witches, yeah, 3 is magic. 3's everywhere. 3's everywhere in D&D. So yeah, that's what I was saying before, Nathan. It's like, I would struggle to be like, okay, there's only 3 of us here tonight. We can't play our normal game. Because I feel like this game, just from what people have talked about it, and from the fact that that podcast I was saying about earlier, it feels like it's an ongoing, like a longer term campaign rather than a one-off. Where that's the only thing I'd say is that how likely is that you have 3 people normally that were willing to do much, where it's normally a bigger group, and then so many people can't make it, and we'll just do a one shot. That's my thoughts anyway. I'm happy to be wrong. So it says here, truths, troubles, and trials. Wickedness is made up of 3 chapters, each of which should take between 1 and 2 hours. Truths, troubles, and trials. During truths, we'll meet our 3 coven mates, learn what makes them tick, and decide who they are to each other. Then we will build worlds around them, ring by ring. This will mostly look like discussing, circling, and inventing options on each of the 6 game pages. During troubles, we'll see how our coven fares against a series of challenges and collect wisdom from the mistakes they make whilst keeping the sanctuary, the world, and one another from falling apart. Then, each coven mate will be asked to make a painful choice. During trials, the coven will face more challenges, but the rules will have changed just a little, and it'll be time for our coven mates to put their collective wisdom to work and determine their ultimate fates. Of course, the worlds are delicately balanced, and if anyone force slips too far out of control, the game may end abruptly and apocalyptically. Woo. Interesting. Okay, so it is a one-shot. Sorry, I might have just assumed that. It's just because, again, the 2 things I've seen about it have talked about it being a longer-term campaign. Interesting, though. Again, quite a cool, I think, well-written introduction to begin with. I do love the font. The font's quite nice, isn't it? So again, an easy thing to read out. So, maybe I need to get a tissue. Safekeeping. Actually, maybe I'll zoom in a tiny bit more. Tiny bit. There we go. There we go. A lot better, huh? Anytime we engage in a collaborative social activity, we become vulnerable. In Wickedness, because the coven are our other selves in another world, we're vulnerable in ways we aren't in our day-to-day lives. Vulnerable play is good, but only if we're mindful. Here are some guidelines for how to play gently with one another. So a content warning. Wickedness is mild enough for kids, but does contain some potentially distressing themes. So poverty, fantasy marginalisation, violence, dysfunctional relationships, abandonment, romance, mental illness, and negative body feelings. If any of these has the potential to make you uncomfortable whilst playing the game, now would be a good time to say so. We won't ask why, and you can change your mind later. How interesting, it's already written as if I'm reading it out to people. Reading it out to the other two folks. I think that's quite good. I always am a big fan of that, because then I'll be like, oh, what a great script. I could just read it out aloud. And then we have upset versus oofed. When you're enjoying a piece of fiction, you might let your sympathy run wild and feel the big emotions the characters are feeling. And this is fun, even when those big feelings are otherwise negative, like fear, anger, or loss. We call these fun, bad feelings oofs. That's quite cool. I like that. Sometimes, though, we go from being oof to being upset in the regular, terrible way. It can be tricky to tell the difference, but try to ask yourself, am I enjoying these feelings? If at any point someone is having a big reaction to the game, or they've been very quiet, you can feel free to ask, are you just oofed right now, or are you upset for real? Okay, I don't know if I'd say that exact sentence, but I'm like, are you okay? You feeling alright? Yeah, check in. Like, I get the oofed and the upset as a sort of like demonstration of the two things. I'd never say like, oh, are you in your oofs right now? Again, I don't mean to be dismissive of the language here. I just there going like, I don't think for me, I'm just there going like, hey, you alright? Like, I'm not gonna change my tone to be within the game necessarily, I guess, for this. If they're actually upset, we need to pause the game and make the change. So humans first. Wickedness ritual-like rules can sometimes seem sacrosanct, but the rules and the cards are not in charge of us. We can always pause the game to make sure everyone's comfortable physically and emotionally. We can always skip a card that one of us finds upsetting. We can always change anything that's been written or said. The game will just be fine. Humans come first. I like that. The finger. What a great image, by the way. I don't know if people can see this. It is like I presume like a character that has like a wand which has thorns around it with a sword, a cutlass, but they're holding their own head up high, like almost like a Hamlet, you know, Alas Poor Yorick kind of style. But it's like it's very silhouette block colours. So we've got red, and then it's like a little bit of a pinkiness on the implements, so to speak. Very cool. Most of the storytelling in Wickedness is done collaboratively, but often the game will ask a question of one player in particular. Whilst you're thinking, you're open to hearing suggestions. And if you're open to hearing suggestions, put one finger pensively on your lips and say, You can also ask for help out loud if you're stumped. If someone doesn't put up a finger or ask for help, don't chime in. Once they've answered the question, you can return to freely making suggestions. There are other RPG safety tools too, if you like, and we will play with those. We could play with those too. Okay, this is interesting. Again, I would feel a little bit silly, like going but the amount of times I've been given a prompt for something recently, and someone goes, "Oh, I've got an idea," and I'm like, "It's my prompt." So I think, yeah, I think that sort of go-to of like, I'm always open to hearing ideas, right? But if but I would like to have a go first, you know. And if I go, I don't know, what do people think? You know, I build on that. It's like pitching in improv. We're doing some pitches for sketches just now. We hear the pitch, and then they'll be like, "Do you want any suggestions from any of the other folks at the table? And you're like, yeah, sure. Not just now. I'm still thinking on stuff, you know. Absolutely. But yeah. Nathan says, I wonder if this is aimed at a younger audience, although it may be viewed a view into the author's speaking style. Yes, exactly. I think so too. I think I'm thinking of, again, in Zaber's Bed and Breakfast, it talks about flaws as oopsies, and bingos as like as strengths, you know. And that's in the flavour of the game a little bit. The let me cook finger. I like that. That makes me laugh, right? But yeah, I think maybe again it's helpful when you're online as well, because maybe you don't have those visual cues perhaps if you're doing sort of this business with your finger on your lips going But also, I don't know about you folks, I'm also there going like this all the time, like I'm always touching my face or go oh, interesting, you know, that sort of thing like that. And so I don't know, each their own, I think. I'm gonna grab a tissue very quickly because otherwise I'm just gonna snot into oblivion, so give me 2 seconds. I'm not gonna go to a break because there's no point. It's literally just over there. There we go. Oh, dear me. Alright, let's try again. What is next? Setting up the game. So we're straight in. It says here, first off, make sure you have everything you need. Yourself and 2 friends, a tarot deck, the 6 game pages at the back of this book printed, and some pencils. Oh, what's it say here? Inviting the deck. If you also use a tarot deck for your readings or for a ritual, you may want to let it know. Well, you may want to let it know that what follows is a game where it asks you questions about your other selves in the other world and invite it to play along. Most decks seem to like this reversal and the chance to play it. They are cards after all. Now that's interesting because I know, again, I say this from very limited experience I have with tarot card decks. Obviously, as a white woman, I've got loads of them. But I like having stuff that gives me ideas and stuff and prompts and taking that meaning from them. And there's always that thing about asking a question and not using other people's decks. Like if anyone's seen the horror film Tarot, there's all that business there. But here's an interesting one, like acknowledging the cards and saying that it's going to ask you questions instead. I think that's nice in the sense of like it's setting you up for this world. It's setting you in that way. I think, again, whilst I might have been a bit dismissive of like the finger and the oofs versus upset, I guess it's like this is just making our circle, our magic space where we can do it. And hey, the deck is a part of that too, so we have to acknowledge that. It's a bit like, I know it takes inspiration, this game, from Sleepaway. This idea of like when we're playing, there's like the big bad evil thing, in quotation marks, is something called the Lindworm, and we want to invite the Lindworm to play with us whilst we're doing our story. And that was always quite fun, where we'd close our eyes and then one person would offer to be the Lindworm and like make changes, all that sort of thing. So yeah, I kind of like that myself. So step 2 is create the challenge deck by separating out the minor arcana, so the 1 to 10 pages, knights, queens and kings, and shuffling them together. So yeah, minor arcana away from the major arcana. So, you know, stuff like the world, the hanged man, all the sort of like more, I mean, not decorative cards, that's not the word, but the sort of the staple cards is what I would refer them as. And then it says, deal each player their coven mate's personal arcana. Separate out the Fool, Magician, and High Priestess, and randomly deal 1 to each player faced up. Separate out the Sun, Moon, and Star, and randomly deal 1 of those to each player face up. Then separate out the Wheel of Fortune, the Chariot, the Hangman, Strength, and the World, and randomly deal 1 to each player face up, and then put the remaining 2 cards back in the box. Interesting. Okay, so yeah, you're really randomizing your experience here. And yeah, I assume the Fool, the Magician, and the High Priestess, that's to do with the actual role that you're going to get. I don't know about these 2 though, so again, we'll see. Deal each player their inevitable fate, a small deck in a semi-predetermined order. Separate out the Death, Judgment, and Tower, and randomly deal one face down to each player. Separate out the Justice, Temperate, and Hierophant, and Empress, and randomly deal one face down to each player on top of the previous card. Put the fourth card back in the box without looking. And then finally it says, separate out the Lovers, the Hermit, the Devil, and the Emperor. Deal that one face down on top of the previous card, and put the fourth card back in the box. So interesting, so the first ones here, these are all face up. And then this little deck that you're getting, not only is it in a predetermined order, but you don't see that order until it happens. Amazing. And then, yeah, no one look at these. And then it says, you're ready to begin the first chapter of the game. Truths. And, oh, what a great image this is here. Again, no alt text, but it's of an individual, again, that sort of silhouette type thing, looking through a telescope. And they're in blue, and they've got a little teacup, and like they've got like a string of stuff on their belt, which looks like an hourglass, a key, and some scissors. So, chapter 1, Truths. And we've got like a little, what looks like some flowers, upside down, tied up. Very cute, a bunch of flowers. I think so far, if I zoom out a little bit, there is a lot of white space, but again, in my head, these are quite small books, like little zines. I do think I would remove the white space, you know? I feel like, so we're already, on this page, it's chapter 1, 14 pages in. So that's, what, and I said it's 40 pages? So we've got like 25 pages to go. So again, maybe it's, and the writing around it's very good, but we've got a lot of like one extra white space here. This is a whole white space that's not being used. I'd get rid of it. I'm honest. Anyway, where was I? Creating the coven mates. So the 3 faced up arcana you've been dealt with will help you decide who your coven mate is. You should have 1 coven mate arcana, 1 celestial arcana, and 1 power arcana. The first card you were dealt determines which of the coven mates you'll be playing. If you were dealt the Fool, you are the Pure of Heart. If you were dealt the Magician, you take the Wild of Spirit page. If you were dealt the High Priestess, you are the Old Soul. And if you desperately want to swap them, you may do so. Nathan says, probably the chapter facing page when printed. You're probably right. I just feel like we've like at the beginning, yeah, I guess if you're reading it for us, for Western reading, we always have it on the right, like reading left to right, perhaps. But yeah, maybe. Everyone should take a moment to read over the cover mate pages. What's written on the right hand side is definitely true at the start of the game. I might have put that in bold myself. The celestial card you were dealt determines your dominant effect. So if you were dealt the Sun, you're primarily driven by reason and practicality. If you were dealt the Moon, you're primarily driven by emotion and mystery. And if you were dealt the Star, you're primarily driven by faith and connections. So when making choices for your character, keep these in mind. Yeah, I would like the little art there. Yeah, exactly. I think, again, this little artwork here. Oh, wow, look how beautiful this is. So it's an individual, it's slightly bigger body holding a big rabbit. And yet underneath you can see they're missing a leg and they've got like an apparatus to help them. Oh, great. I love that. And I love how the colour is beautiful. Like dark green and light green there. It's very nice. No alt text, but still pretty cute. Read through what's written under My Power and imagine your cover mate as someone these statements are true of. Read through what's written under My Follies. Imagine your cover mate as someone who makes these kinds of mistakes. Presumably it's this. Well, maybe not. On the left-hand side of your cover mate page are a number of statements that need to be filled out. For each, you may circle one of 7 suggestions, circle more than one, or invent something. Share your decision-making process with the other players and ask for feedback. When everyone's made their decision, it's time to share a little bit about your characters. Write down names and pronouns of the other 2 cover mates. And then it says here, notes about gender, age, and culture. I like how, again, this is important, but it's not part of the gameplay. Again, I'm always a big fan of having these sort of like asides, and it's obvious that they're asides. Like, it's quite simple, this box, right? But it's got this sort of title, which is everything's capitalized, like small capitals. I do think it's a different. Oh, it is a different font as well. So I like that. Again, it still fits in, but a little bit different. Again, I don't know. Again, this artwork at the top of a very cute mouse. Don't get me wrong. It's a bit big. I wonder if I would put this mouse maybe here instead where the box is, and put the box up top or underneath, perhaps. That's what I would think in terms of layout. But again, what do I know about layout? Nothing. So the old soul is not necessarily older than the other two coven mates. The pure of heart is not necessarily younger. At least, not literally. This text refers to the members of the coven as coven mates without connotations of gender or culture. At the table, feel free to call them witches, warlocks, or whatever terminology that your group likes for them. This text refers to the members of the coven with the neutral they pronouns, but the coven mates can use whatever pronouns they like. Nice. Alright, it says here, understanding your coven mate's power. In the upper right corner of your coven mate page, under the heading My Power, there is a sentence about what your magic can do, followed by 3 sentences about where it comes from. Everyone should complete the first statement of power by looking at the 3 options listed in parentheses, circling one of them and crossing out the others. The final card in your personal arcana gives your power one more twist. The Chariot says choose between travel and sword magic. The Hanged Man chooses between ghost and gravity magic. The Wheel of Fortune, time and luck magic. The World is plant and dream magic. And strength is size and beast magic. Write down this final use for your power on your coven mate sheet. But what does this mean? Naturally, we'll have questions about our powers. What's the difference between the Hanged Man's ghost power and the Old Soul's power to conjure spirits? Can time magic change the past? What does it look like to perform an act of magic? There are no answers to these questions in this book, except that magic is boundless, strange, and costly. If we want more specific details, we must decide on them together. Interesting. I think the only thing I'd say here is that it would be nice to see a sheet. I know we're going to see it in like 2 seconds, so it's not a problem, but I feel like an example, or like this is what it looks like, half a sheet on the left, half a sheet on the right, you know. Maybe I might have been spoiled by watching or reading through another sheet that had the sheet in the middle and all the text around it. Sources of power. So the coven can do petty magic on a whim, but sometimes they need to roll up their sleeves and undertake a major working. When you perform an act of true magic or are directed to strike a source by a challenge, you'll need to strike away a fraction of your coven mate's power. You have 9 sources, each of which is a bolded word or phrase in the 3 sentences beneath my power. Ooh, okay. Whilst you have a source, it is true of you. To strike a source, take a pencil and cross it out. It is no longer true. You may no longer be that thing, do that thing, or have that thing. If a source seems like it's a weakness or a flaw that you'd be glad to get rid of, then we encourage you to reflect on what you might become without that limitation. And shiver. If a source has already been struck, striking it again will cause it to be blackened. Blot out the source with ink and replace it with one of the suggested sources or one of your own devising. And the new blackened source can no longer be struck for spellcasting, but it is immutably true as an unstruck source. Ooh, interesting. Again, would like to see an example of that, like an image example of it, but I quite like that. The act of striking out and like using your resources. It feels a bit, again, the outside belonging sort of stuff, like take a token, spend a token, that sort of thing. Striking sources, disability, and mental illness. So this is a separate box. So at the start of the game, all sources are true. But keep in mind that the fact that the Pure of Heart is sprightly does not mean that they don't use a wheelchair, nor does it mean that when their sprightly is struck that they are suddenly disabled. Likewise, the fact that they have love for themselves does not mean they do not live with depression. It means that it means only what the source says, that they have love for themselves. Struck sources are injuries with a supernatural origin, physical, emotional, or spiritual. We may eventually recover from them with patience and wisdom. When sources become blackened, that injury heals crooked. Oh, that's quite a good way of phrasing it, actually. Disabilities and neurodivergence are normal aspects of human diversity. They don't make a person broken in the way that struck sources do. Your coven mate can be disabled or neurodivergent with all their sources intact. Nice, it gives you permission to do that. I like that a lot. Alright, so that's the characters created. Oh, Nathan says, the striking out of character traits is interesting. Memento Mori does that as well. Ah, yes, of course, of course. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my big sort of like inspiration for when I think of stuff like that is Never Ending Story 2. The Nothing is that you spend memories to get your powers, and I always thought that was a really cool idea. Yeah, Bastion. So creating the sanctuary. Sorry. Now we know a little bit about the coven, we should discover the place where they live. The sanctuary is a strange place called home by strange forces. It doesn't wholly belong to anyone, but the coven are its de facto custodians. The first thing we must decide is the location of the sanctuary. We'll circle one of the options listed on the sanctuary page or suggest a new location of our own. The sanctuary has resources, friends, and wonders. Resources are mundane but useful aspects of the sanctuary that the coven makes everyday use of. It starts with living spaces and a moderate sum of gold, and will circle or invent one more. The friends of the sanctuary are the coven's allies, guests, and partners. We'll circle or invent one, giving them a name and a detail. Friends of the sanctuary might live there alongside a coven, or they may. Friends of the sanctuary may live there alongside the coven, or they may come and go, or make an appearance only under invitation. And then we have the sanctuary's wonders are the fantastical properties, mythic relics, and impenetrable mysteries that the coven protects and maintains. We'll each circle or invent one. So that's for everyone, one out of the three of us. We discuss what a wonder is like, but we should avoid defining what it does. Wonders can and should surprise us in the next 2 chapters of our game. Oh, nice, I like that. Finally, the player who has the star will draw 3 symbols next to the aspects of the sanctuary. A little question mark next to someone or something that's not quite what it seems. A little heart next to someone or something with secret feelings, and a little skull to someone or something that is doomed. We do not have to talk about why or how these things might be true, yet forget about them at first. And then the next time we remember them, we can explore them. If the sanctuary ever runs out of resources, friends, or wonders, we turn to the appropriate entry at the end of the interpretation guide. It is likely that the game will end. Ah, okay, so this is like your sort of sources. And so, yeah, if you lose them, and we need to ask them again, we have to go to the interpretation guide. It might be the end of the game. I see. So, I'm just double checking. So, we need to circle. So with the resources, we'll have 2 already, and then we need to do 1 more. In terms of friends, we each circle 1. So each of us, we have 3 friends to start with. And then the wonders, we also each have to circle 1. Okay. Straightforward enough. And then it says, creating the kingdom. The sanctuary exists within the kingdom, which is a straightforward human sort of place. Not everyone in the kingdom knows or trusts magic, or the people who wield it, but they often have some sort of need of it. So the kingdom and the sanctuary lived in a sort of tenuous symbioist? For now. The kingdom needs sweeping visas. Vistas, sorry, not visas. Oh, that shows you what's on my mind. Leaders and national joys. First, the pure of heart will pick 1 or 2 countrysides. The old soul will pick 1 or 2 settlements, and the wild heart will pick 1 or 2 wildernesses. Second, we need to create a leader for the kingdom. Leaders hold most of the power in the mortal world and are primarily concerned with keeping it that way. We'll decide who the leader is as a group, giving them a name and a detail. We can pick an option from the list or make up our own. We each circle a national joy. National joys are what bonds the kingdom's identity together as a nation, what its citizens are most proud of, and what keeps their hope alive in the difficult times. And then finally, the player who drew the sun will invent a second leader for the kingdom, a rival to the first, and give the whole country a name. The kingdom has an ignorance, poverty, and despair. As the game progresses, these may worsen. If they do, mark the next box on that chart and follow the accompanying instructions. If the last box in any is checked for any of the kingdom's aspects, go to the appropriate page at the end of the interpretation guide, and the game is likely to end. Okay, so that's another end game condition. Either we run out of friends, resources, and wonders, or the kingdom's ignorance, poverty, or despair maxes out on their little chart. So it says here, other details in our world. This chapter of the game intentionally leaves most of the mortal world as a blank slate. The coven stands apart from the mortal world, and even though they have lived and grown in it, the kingdom is in many ways as foreign to them as the underworld. As players, we should feel free to add details, people, or places to the kingdom's sheet whenever we feel inspired or the story calls for it. Very good. Okay. Then we have creating the underworld. So we've created characters, created kingdom, and now the underworld itself. And just in case, no alt text. Okay. The kingdom's dark opposite is the underworld, the strange lands of magics and peril beneath and behind the mortal world. It is part of the natural order, existing in balance with the kingdom above, but the workings of the coven and their magic stir its denizens and whet its appetite. As a group, we should decide what kind of underworld we're dealing with. Oh my word, what? Chthonic? Infernal or mirror? Oh, mirror, 100%. What's chthonic? I'll have to look that word up. I've never heard of that word before. We'll go this one. Chthonic. I think that's how you spell it. Concerning, belonging to, or inhabiting the underworld. Oh. In Greek mythology, deities referred to as chthonic or chthonican are gods or spirits who inhabit the underworld. Okay, so... Okay. As an actual underworld as we probably know it, right? Like Greek mythology. Possibly. And then infernal presumably has devils and demons, perhaps? And a mirror. The player who drew the star will choose one kind of denizen that inhabits the underworld. The player who drew the moon will choose a barrier that must be reckoned with in order to enter or exit. Each player follows the instructions written for their coven mate at zero claim on the underworld page. The underworld has a claim over each of the coven mates. When the underworld's claim on the coven mates worsens, follow the accompanying instructions. And if any of the coven mates' claims get to 4, go to the appropriate page at the end of the interpretation guide. The game will end. Interesting. The underworld claiming yourself. And then it says, weaving the coven together. Oh, this has got some nice image here. I like this. Oh, it's a little bit... Oh, I don't know about if you guys can see it. It's a little bit... pixelated. Oh, that's a shame. Oh, that is a shame. But for the sake of accessibility, it is 2 sort of threads and a needle. One thread is like on 2 spools. One thread is red, the other is like a bluey purple. And they're sort of intertwined with each other. It's actually... I think it changes colour. Yeah, it changes colour halfway through. So weaving the coven together. Oh, Nathan says, chthonic is less a punishment than infernal, certainly. Yes. Each of our coven mates pages has 6 questions. 3 addressed to each of our coven mates. To each of our coven mates. Okay. Together we'll ask 12 questions, 2 for each of us. 2 for each of us from each of us. Oh. Starting with the pure of heart asking the old soul a question, and ending with the old soul asking the pure of heart a question. Right, so it's like that sort of thing where you go, I am going to ask you one to my left, one to my right, right? That's what I assume. Gosh, it's happening. 12 questions. Blimey hell. Oh, I see. So we have 6 pages. You know what? We're going to have to look at it. Hang on, my brain has just like imploded slightly. Trying to work out what that meant. It's always important to remember the finger, or the let it cook finger as we're now going to call it, but it's especially important now. If an answer does not satisfy its asker, they may ask one follow-up question for clarification. Oh, may ask only one follow-up question. Interesting. Once 12 questions have been asked, we'll collectively ask the 13th question of our tarot deck. What trouble awaits us? Then we should take a short break to stretch, eat, drink, and refocus. That's cool. I like that idea of having the deck answer the final question. That's pretty fun. Okay, and that's the end of chapter 1. I'll tell you what we're going to do. I want to see these character sheets at the end. So we can have a look, see what it looks like. She says, afterward, no. Oh, it's not at the end. Where are these character sheets? Maybe they're in the playbook. Sorry, I know I'm shooting ahead a little bit. That's the interpretation guide. Ooh. Oh, and we've got alternate settings as well. I didn't realise that. That's quite cool. Oh, a cyberpunk one there as well. Nice. Underworld. Sorry, I know I'm drafting ahead a little bit, but I wanted to have a see. Me 2-page. There we go. So I go zoom out. So. So this is what a page looks like from what we can see. There's the pure of heart here, so you circle one or write your own. So yeah, I'll have all these are true at the beginning. And ask the soul 2 of the following. Ask the wild spirit 2 of the following. And then we've got magic here. And these are all the things, yeah, sprightly, lovely, and healthy. Oh, myself, for my friends, and all things that grow. Innocent, angry, stronger, anything. And then here, it changes. Once you've blackened it, once you've crossed it out twice, you then have this. You've become spoilt or tired, frivolous, or other way the worlds have overused you. Interesting. Got follies there. All right. Then we've got the sanctuary. Okay, so yeah, I vaguely see in the sanctuary. Here we go. Kingdom and the underworld. Where's the questions? Oh, I guess the questions are on our sheet. They're on our sheet, right? Yes. Ask 2 of the following. Is there not another asking of things? Just seeing if there's... No, I can't see them. But the sheets are pretty, aren't they? Again, using all the space here in terms of the imagery. Also, I didn't get a printout or a separate version of these particular base character sheets, and like I said, it talks about other sets of pages as well, which you could. It says here cyberpunk setting. What was the other one? There was another one there. Modern world of urban fantasy. Very cool. Very interesting. All right. Sorry, moving ahead. Sorry, Troubles, here we go. That's what we were on. So, facing challenges. The stack of minor arcana is the challenge deck. Flip open the top card. This is the coven's current challenge. Wait a minute. I guess... Hang on 1 second. Sorry, my brain has just... So, that final question here. Ask the 13th card of our tarot deck what troubles awaits us. But have we not already set it up so it's going to be separate? I'm just checking. Sorry, I guess we have already set up so that we are... Yeah, all of our... Yes, it has to be the challenge deck, right, that we're getting from here. Because all the... personal arcana cards, they're using the major arcana. So that makes more sense. Yeah, so you have to ask that deck of the challenge deck. Makes sense. Makes sense. All right, carry on. Every challenge will begin with naming one of the major arcana cards. Oh. The coven mate who has the arcana reads the interpretation guide entry aloud, and the group follows the instructions therein. Anyone may further flesh out the challenge by volunteering further information about the challenge. What? Hang on. Every challenge will begin by naming one of the major arcana decks. I thought it was a challenge deck was like... Okay. Never mind. It's fine. We'll get there. The deck is a player. Every tarot deck is different, as is every game of Wickedness. Coins may be sometimes called pentacles, wands may be sometimes called staves, pages may sometimes be called ladies. I've never had that in a tarot card deck. Therefore, the interpretation guide is a series of approximations. We're empowered to change whatever terms we need in order to play with our chosen deck. The assumed symbolism in the interpretation deck is largely based on the art of the popular Rider-Waite tarot deck, but not every deck has the same elements in its illustrations or the same emotional mood or tone. The main advantage of using tarot cards over dice to randomize the game is this richness of symbolism, so we should be sure to let the cards themselves guide the flavor, tone, and detail building of our challenges. If a challenge is as written absolutely does not fit our deck's illustration or the lore of the game so far, it is up to us as players to bend the challenge to fit. When doing so, we have 3 guidelines to follow. Challenges are always something that will have negative consequences if unaddressed. Challenges always expose the weakness or vulnerability of the coven. Excuse me. And the player holding the major arcana card named by the entry should have the most to say in how to interpret it. Ah, I see. So you draw the card, go to the entry, and it will say the major arcana card there. Right. In general, we should aim to follow both the spirit of the game and the spirit of the cards. I quite like that, meaning that the cards you choose will be special for this game. Look at that image there. Has an individual like holding on to, well, I would say a big beast, which seems to, I think it has 3 eyes, right? There, 1, 2, 3. But it's sleeping, and it's got little antlers. Very cute. Okay, so it says coins, swords, and wands challenges. So for these challenges, once the instructions in the interpretation guide have been read, each member of the coven establishes themselves in a scene. When a coven mate attempts to resolve a challenge, the player picks one of the following: fall prey to a folly, solve it with wisdom, solve it with true magic. Each of us may only perform one of these options per challenge. We perform them in any order, and it's okay to discuss what we're going to do. Go back and change things and talk how each attempt changes the nature of the challenge. If no one solves it, then the coven fails the challenge. I see. So if we're all 3 of us in a scene, and my character does fall prey to a folly, then the other 2 could not use that same option, and I can only do that once. Okay. Okay. The Cups suit. Cups challenges are special. They resolve according to their entries in the interpretation guide. They tell us whether we've solved them or failed. Okay, so they've got their own little success or failure on that. Fair enough. And then we have the options. So we've got fall prey to a folly. So the coven mates are powerful, resourceful individuals, but when they fail spectacularly. Fail spectacularly. Oh, I can't even say it. Spectacularly. Doesn't matter. They just fail badly. Each coven mate's page has a special list of 7 follies that the coven mate is prone to, the mistakes they must learn from on their life's journey. When you fall prey to a folly, say how that folly makes the situation worse and what it reflects upon your coven mate. Then draw the top card of the challenge deck. It is now a wisdom card in your hand. You shouldn't repeat the same folly twice in a row, unless it is perfect for the story. And it says here, follies and teamwork. Falling prey to a folly does not necessarily mean a coven mate is out of action, unless it makes sense for the story. If another coven mate is solving a challenge with wisdom or big magic, You should still describe how your coven mate supports, hinders, or plays into the plan if appropriate. Excuse me. Whew. And then we have solve it with wisdom. If you've collected enough wisdom cards, you can resolve a challenge using a combination of mundane cleverness, petty magic, diplomacy, and the coven's resources. To resolve a challenge with wisdom, discard the wisdom cards that with a combined value of at least triple the challenge values cards. So here it says like pages are worth 11, knights are 12, kings and queens are worth a witch's lucky 13. And describe how your character successfully solves a challenge. I like that. So you're gaining those resources. So this is I see. So this is their thing of like gain a token is if you fall pressure. So if you do a weak move, a vulnerable move, sorry, you're going to gain something, you're going to gain a card. A strong move, solve it with wisdom is what it's going to be, and then you spend the cards. I understand now. Put the discarded wisdom cards, oh, you can't see it, in the centre of the play space. They don't go back in the box just yet. And cover mates in absentia. The final folly on each of the coven's sheet pulls them away from the action for the next challenge. They can still act, but we have to explain how they are influencing from afar. And then we have solve it with true magic. The coven's magic can accomplish almost anything, but this power can be costly. To use true magic, you'll say which element of your power you are calling upon, how the spell unfolds, and then striking one of your sources. Using true magic always solves a challenge. When a challenge is solved, put the card back in the box. It is removed from the game. When we fail to solve a challenge, each member of the coven picks one of the penalties below. We can all pick the same option if we like, but doing so might prove foolish. So, here we have the options. Describe how the kingdom's ignorance, poverty, or despair worsens, how the coven can tell and update the kingdom page accordingly. Describe how one of the sanctuary's resources, friends, or wonders is lost, desecrated, or destroyed, and then strike it from the page. Or worsen the underworld's claim over you on the underworld's page. So yes, well, if you fail, there's consequences throughout. Everyone has to pick one of those options. I like it. And then we put the card back in the box, and it's removed from the game. And then we have, oh, sorry, I forgot. There's a beautiful image here of somebody holding pigeons out and has like a bandolier with a cage. I quite like that. It's quite cute. And then we have something called the offers. So remember our inevitable fates, the 3 small decks of 3 secret cards you've been trying not to think about. When the challenge deck runs out of cards, it is time for each of us to face the first card of our inevitable fate, starting with the holder of the sun. Once they've read out the card's entry in the interpretation guide and make the choices it offers, the moon revealed their inevitable fate. Read and decide. Finally, the star will read and interpret their own fate. If you accept the twist offered to you by your fate and claim the card beneath it, your power evolves to incorporate one of the following. So here you have Empress is choose between earth magic and celebration magic, Hierophant, key and fire magic, Justice between law and air, and Temperance between balance and water. And write this final use of your power on your coven sheet. Okay. If you turn down your fate's the fate's offer, will put the card you drew and the one beneath it back into the box. Finally, each of us will ask one question of each other. Finally, each of us will ask one of these questions of each of the others, starting with the sun and ending with the star. Was it an easy choice to make? How can you just give up so much? Is this really what you want? How could you bear to leave us? Are we holding you back? When can we see you? Are you ever coming back to us? And then we'll ask the 7th card of the deck, how is this all going to end? With that, the 2nd chapter of the game is closed. We should take a break, stretch, eat and drink together, and ruminate. Interesting. So yes, you have 3 cards in that deck, in your fate deck, and you get rid of the top 2. That's what I think it's saying there. Yeah. And yeah, another individual wearing an apron and clearly has a warm steaming pie, which is great. Love that. And then the final chapter the final part of this one shot is trials. I've got a key here. So starting the trials. Collect the discard pile from the last chapter and sort it into ascending order so that the lowest card is on top and the highest value card is on the bottom. This is our new challenge deck. Flip over the top card. This is our current challenge. This chapter works a lot like Troubles. We can still solve challenges with wisdom or true magic, and we can still fall prey to folly. But there's also something new that we can do instead. And this is learn from the past. Tell us how this challenge presents you with an opportunity to repeat one of your follies, how you realise, resist and alter the pattern this time around, and what this challenge might mean moving forward. Then cross out that folly and recover a stricken but not blackened source. We should use this new option wisely. It doesn't solve challenges and we can still only choose one option per challenge. We should make sure to gather our wisdom and wisdom cards for the finale. I like that. I can't see it how it works fully. I think again this feels like a game that we have to play, right, and go through it step by step. It feels more board gamey or discussion-y rather than like role play. But I like how you go one way and you're getting rid of like you're praying to follies and you're scratching out your magic or your sources, sorry, and then you're doing the opposite thing in the final chapter. I think that's really cool. It really feels symbolic, like learning from your mistakes, huh? Am I gonna sneeze? No. God damn it. Estranged coven mates. Depending on the twists and turns of fate, one or more members of the coven may no longer be living in the sanctuary. Challenges still capture the attention of the entire coven, no matter how far-flung, but we may have to explain how estranged members find out about them, or how they find the time to help. Being estranged doesn't have to mean they never visit. All it means is that the coven is no longer the primary focus. Oh, and then the finale. When the last challenge in the challenge deck is resolved, it is time for us to flip the last cards in our inevitable fate. These challenges can only be solved with wisdom, and only by the player who drew them. Whoever has drawn Judgment will go first and determine the fate of the kingdom. Whoever has drawn Death will go second and determine the fate of the underworld. Whoever has drawn the Tower will go third to determine the fate of the coven. With all three challenges been addressed, the game is over and the story is complete. Now, okay. Was there not more? If I go back to, sorry, the character creation, was there not? What if you've got more cards? I'm gonna have to look at this character creation again. I guess it's magic, right? I guess it's all to do with the magic stuff. Sorry, I'm just double checking. Yeah. Okay. The final. So yeah. Okay. I think that's how it works, right? So let's do set. It's setup. What am I doing? Okay. Yeah. Take those remaining two. So it is about your personal arcana. Sure. Okay, the inevitable fate. Right. Okay, so you were always going to have those, the ones that are important. Okay. I wasn't sure, like, suddenly it was like, well, we need this card in order to succeed at something and in order to, like, determine the fate of the kingdom. Those cards are there. Okay. I wasn't entirely sure. It's all this sort of customization in terms of magic, I seem to think, and the fate stuff. Okay. Closing the game. So the game is over. Whether we found a peaceful ending or the world has fallen down around our ears, we should take some measures now to clear the boundaries between the Coven's world and ours. Thanking one another. We've just done a lot of creative work. It's important to acknowledge and thank each other for that. Sometimes gratitude is best expressed through joy and sorrow and excitement. So we should take a moment to talk about the game and what resonates with us. Be sure, as you put the cards away, to thank your tarot card deck as well. Clean up. We will make sure not to just clean up the game components, but also any drinks, snacks, and move furniture and such that may have been put into disarray by the game. We would hate to be poor guests. Oh, excuse me. When the game is put away and the space is clean, we've talked ourselves out. One final question closes the game. What's next? Interesting. And then it goes on to the play pages. Interesting. Okay, so that's the structure of the game. I do like it, but I definitely need, I can't believe I'm saying this, I definitely need play examples. I definitely need some more, I think it'd be nice to have a few more illustrations, perhaps, that help with or support the text. There's some really pretty images, don't get me wrong. I like the structure of it, I like how it's sort of talking, but it does feel to me like setting up scenes and whatnot, it definitely feels more like it would be in third person, and I'm not role-playing things out. Again, it's using the wisdom cards, you're taking cards, you're spending cards. It's that token, the outside belonging games. But I definitely need to see an example. So yeah, definitely would look at that actual play with Brennan, Yon, and Jay. I think I would have to watch that through. Nathan says, it's interesting hearing the rituals surrounding tarot decks. That doesn't seem common in other tarot-based games like His Majesty the Worm. I mean, yeah, I feel like it makes sense for using tarot as, again, not in role-playing games, but like in sort of like, when you're asking cards to like, often, gosh, I remember there was a lady, excuse me, in one of my improv groups who used to do a lot of tarot card reading. And she often used to have visual reactions to stuff. Like after every improv session, obviously we're all like, "Oh yeah, let's do a tarot card reading." If people wanted to, and she'd do that thing where she would like go for the deck, and this was all online, by the way. And you go, "Oh, stop!" And she goes, "Oh, well, this card jumped out at me, and that means this," and any little thing, she would make it that the card did that. And I can't remember what card it was I drew, something like that. And I was one of those people who was like, sure, I'll ask. She goes, oh, and she put a lot of emphasis on the card because she said it felt very warm, and it felt this, that, the other. And whether or not, again, the answer to it, I won't go into detail about it. Did it feel true to me what she said? Yes, but also I'm very aware that, it's what we interpret these things out. But she said, I hope you're okay wherever you are. And I was like, oh, I think I'm okay. So I always find it really interesting. And so I think whatever you think about tarot cards, whether you use them as a part of every day, helping you with decisions, if you use them for prompts in your games, whether it's a mechanic, I think I like the idea of treating them as like a part of the game. They are an equal in determining the world, right? And treating it as such, as a player, I think that's makes sense. I've talked about it before about in improv. I think you should treat the setting as equal, if not more, like a player. Like you think of Thomas Hardy. I always talk about this example. If you ever read any Thomas Hardy, he always talks about the heath and the moors, and the first chapter is always like, oh, the moors are great, aren't they? And it's like this big character, and then people are in this sort of this character, and it influences everything. And I feel like the setting and the scene of where you are should always inform what the characters are. So and we want to thank that. So yeah, I definitely see that. I'm gonna skip through everything else. I don't think we need to look at anything else necessarily. I feel I like how we have these the base game as it's sort of described here, but also I kind of like the idea of having, I don't know what the base game setting is like. I think, did it say it was fantasy? Let me just go back up and have a quick read. The base game, core game, best choice for players new to Wickedness or role-playing games in general. The second set converts it into a cyberpunk setting. We should use these sheets if our group is excited to reinterpret mythical feudal challenges. So yeah, it's supposed to be getting away from that, maybe fantasy, etc. And then the third set brings it into the modern world of urban fantasy, where magic is a hidden force. So I like how we do different settings for it as well. I think that's really cool. I'd love to try I like the idea of doing the cyberpunk setting. But yeah, because I maybe, and that was the thing. I seem to remember. I'll have a look what they said. In the column, it said, I played with my spouse and a mutual friend, and we spun up our own unintentional take on the Mother Maiden Crone, a naive but hopeful boy who draws magic from herbs, a quintessential mom of the friend group with their nerves ever in books, and a vulture of a woman who collects bones and curses in equal measure. Yeah, so again, you can have specialised individuals about, you know, who they are, but in my head I'm like, okay, so they were playing with the base game, question mark? I assume so. Alright, let's zoom out a little bit. And then let's have a look at some of these. Again, we're not going to look into too much detail. I am curious about it. I feel like the writing of it, certainly at the beginning, the structure, it took a little while to get... No, not to get going. I think I understood what it's talking about. Coven mates saying that out loud has a lot, I will say. I think it could have done with another copy edit just to make it a little bit smoother in terms of the writing. But again, these kinds of games are outside belonging games. They're always a bit... I don't want to say this as a dismissive thing at all, but they're always a bit more floral, a bit more sort of like thinking of things, and it feels a bit bigger rather than down to earth, like in simple terms, if you know what I mean. Interesting. Oh, Nathan said, ties in well with the occult setting too. The characters would probably treat the tarot that way as well. Yes, absolutely. Urban fantasy. Alright. An interpretation guide. I will say that, so this whole second book then is just player pages. And obviously different things. This shouldn't be a second book then. It should be just collections of pages, you know, like a spread for each one. That's how I would see it, rather than a book itself. Like, don't get me wrong, like the artwork's nice. Ooh, interpretation guide. I'm going to read this a little bit. So it says, presented in this booklet is the Wickedness interpretation guide. Like other tarot interpretation guides, it can be used to decipher truths from cards, rather than answering personal questions or divining the future, it tells us about the world of wickedness and the challenges that face the coven. The first set of suits in this guide, as well as inevitable fates that follow, were written by the creator. And then the back of the booklet are 4 alternative suits by Adira Slattery, Kira Magran, Rain Grayson, and Quinn Milton. Oh, so there's even more ways. Wow, you've got so many different alternatives. Great, I mean, cool. I like that. So we've got swords. Oh, interesting. So what it says, the person... I see, so if you pulled the sword, the High Priestess person will read this. Interesting. Okay, so they are just prompts. They're like a number of... Say if I did 5 of swords, the Magician reads, the Old Soul will tell us where we are walking, and the Pure Soul will say which of our friends are with us when we are accosted. Several toughs emerge from hiding, and one of us asks if we're part of the coven, spitting out the words. More encircle us to block any escape. How do we react to this sudden confrontation? Yeah, so this is not a roleplay scenario. This is us talking through an example. That's interesting. And then using those options to go through. So instantly I'm like, oh yeah, this is more of a one shot than a several series. Interesting. I'm just looking through some more. The font, that's interesting. Look, you see the font changes a little bit, like the gaps between the cards between the line. So we've got a little bit of a gap there, and then if I move through, it goes down a little bit. So it feels like it's not been. It feels like they've had to squeeze it on a little bit in these pages instead of keeping it consistent. The artwork is gorgeous. So look at this. The coins there. Oh, hang on. Have I noticed something? Oh, yeah. Have you noticed with the artwork? It's 3s. 3 swords there. 3, like, sticks, wands. And then it was 3 coins. That's cool. I like that little detail. That's quite cute. 3 cups. Yeah, there you go. And then inevitable fates. Oh look, it's a rat, and then on its little behind, it looks like a skull. Oh, that's very cute. Ah, interesting. Corruption of Fates. So this is the ruins. Ah, okay. So I'm just trying to read through to see if there's anything that jumps out to me. So yeah, it feels a little bit choose your own adventure kind of as well. I mean, Kariko is also similar to this in a way in terms of like choose this card and it does something, or you pull this card, okay, there's something that happens here. Okay. Inevitable Fates. Oh, wait. Inevitable Fates. I see. Right, yeah, so this is the stuff that happens to the Sanctuary, the Kingdom, and the Underworld, and then Inevitable Fates. I understand. Oh. Okay. And then we've got the alternates. Just going to flip through them. And then we've got the end of the book, the afterword. There you go, and the Kickstarter backers as well. Okay, all right. Let's then do a quick chat about this. What did we think of Wickedness? I definitely would like to play it. I definitely would like to see it through. I don't know if I want to facilitate this game. It feels like there's a lot to it. I definitely should have been split into 3 PDFs for sure. I definitely think there should have been a bit at the beginning like, hey, you need to read the whole thing and then read through the prompts. Or have a look through both, all 3 things before you start playing, for sure. I think I think it's narratively interesting, and like the system is straightforward, but it's not again, I say it's not a role-playing game. It's not a I'm going to talk to you for ages, I'm going to talk to you for ages. Like, you can do, but you're not going to get anywhere. It's I definitely feel this is a discussional prompt thing where you're going to talk things through and talk the way through it. And I think if you've ever played Sleepaway or your Zabers, that is more roleplay. And then you go, oh, I'm going to do a hard move now. I'm going to do this. Whereas realistically, we all know, this is the challenge. How are you going to solve it? You've got 3 options. You either fall prey to your folly, this and this. I think it could be a little bit of a discussion. You go, I'm actually now going to fall prey to my folly. I do that by doing this. Like that's what it's talking about, I think. Nathan says, looks interesting. The cyberpunk setting does seem like a way to keep it fresh. The idea of destined fate is also an interesting role-playing prompt. Yes, I like that. I like the hidden stuff. I think that could be quite fun and interesting. I think the verbiage, I think the words, the reading behind it, I think it's a little bit dense in places, perhaps. Because again, it's going for a certain style, and I'm like, I get that, but also I think it's going to have to be clearer, especially if you're saying stuff like the finger or the oofs versus upset. Like, I like the concept of those, but it felt kind of, I don't know, tonally a little bit discordant for myself. Samaz says, I get the sentiment as the deck as a prop. I get the sentiment as the deck as a prop. Like, just go along with it, humour me. Modern age tarot is more like viewing an abstract painting of what does it make you feel? Yes, I think I did quite like what it said about getting, rather than you asking questions about of the tarot deck giving you an answer, you're telling the tarot deck to ask you a question. I thought that was an interesting play on it for sure. I think, yeah, how serious in tone do we go with this sort of thing? I think it does feel quite serious, and I'm glad that there are settings for this. You see what I mean? I think you're right. I think Nathan's right in that it keeps it fresh. Yeah, I don't, because you don't have characters. I feel like each of these characters, they are archetypes, and maybe if we look at one, if I go to, I don't know, the Old Spirit or something, Wild Spirit. Let's go with that. Let's have a look at what it says. You may call me Lilith Morgan, Wolf, a reckless name, a stolen name. See, I always like those ones that they had in Sleepaway. It's like, you are a reckless name, a quiet name. When danger calls, I wield, and then you have, a flaming sword. More enchanted knives than I can count. A liquid silk with arrogance. And you have the story, but it doesn't give me... You know what it is? It doesn't give me necessarily what I look like. Which I know that sounds really silly, but like, I'm thinking of like galactic going rogue the other day. In their playbooks, it goes choose 2 looks. So it's like tired eyes, sleepy smile, commanding confidence. That sort of thing. That's kind of helpful. Here, I guess the most sort of descriptive you get is like, oh, I move like liquid silk with arrogance, like a knife with inevitability. Like I like that. I think that's the thing. So I can't picture these people that they're just myself, but with these extra things, perhaps. Nathan says the playbooks remind me a bit of Bluebeard's Bride. Yes, exactly. And weirdly, I feel Bluebeard's Bride they have very specific concepts though, because you have like not the I was gonna say the femme fatale, that's right, but like the witch, the mother, the virgin, and for me, I can really identify those in stories. Perhaps when you say wild spirit, pure of heart, and old soul, I feel that's more nebulous, and that's the point of this game. It feels more nebulous, but yeah, I would love to see prompts of how or what kind of person would that be, I guess, is my thing. I don't know. I would find it difficult unless I had a really strong concept in mind, like, yes, I'm gonna play, like I'm thinking of like Old Soul. I'm thinking there's somebody that drinks tea. They just drink tea, and so they're always with a tea in their hand, and they wear, as a result, I don't know, they knit, they read a lot, they have cardigans on. Wild spirit is maybe somebody that goes out clubbing. Maybe that's someone that's, or is someone that's into their art. You know what I mean? Like I need something that's not. What's their hobbies? What do they do? Are they actual witches? Like, again, I know it's like, this is a setting with it's a fantasy setting. I'm like, cool, but are they just witches, or do they have something else? Like, I can imagine with like the urban setting, like, oh, they got a job, they've got an office work, you know what I mean? Yeah, like the renaming of Maiden Mother Crone roles make them more open, but also make them feel less focused. Absolutely, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, right? Because like, presumably, we're trying to get away from like negative connotations of Maiden Mother Crone, because it's like you could play any age, young at heart really is the old soul and all that sort of thing. And I'm just there going like, I don't see Crone as like a bad thing. Actually, I love playing older women. We need more older women in games. In Call of Cthulhu next week, I'm playing a slightly older woman. I can't wait. I will say, Call of Cthulhu, right? They did this thing of, if you are creating characters, obviously the younger your character are, the less experience you have. But the older you are, you lose points in your appearance, which I think is rubbish. Nathan says, the old soul is a retired hacker who only uses command line toning. Oh, see, you're in it. You get it, right? That's it. I'm too old for this shit. Yeah. I also think like the layout in general is very sparse. I think there's a lot of white space. I think it would have been nice to follow through with some of this, this sort of like filigree in the actual, like, around maybe the contents table, perhaps. I think the text is big enough. I would have liked a bit more art, I think. Like, this art is nice, but yeah, I like this, but it doesn't, like, sometimes the pages are just like quite, I don't know. The text is big enough, for sure. It just feels, and it's readable, but again, I don't know. I can understand, I think, my sort of ultimate conclusion is I can understand why Chase at Rascal maybe struggled, and I feel it's sad that they had to end their game and they didn't feel like they got a lot out of it because they read the rules wrong. I wonder as well, maybe you would have like a play kit, like, okay, how do we set up, like, because you're reading all of this and it's like in bullet points, but it's kind of, it's kind of like, if you were dealt the fool, take the pure of heart coven page. Like, it should be like, the fool gets pure heart. Like, really slim it down. Excited for Call of Cthulhu, especially with someone new involved to the game. Yes, Sharmony, can't wait. It is Sharmony written all over this game. Not in terms of horror, but in terms of the system, I think. I thought that having the boxes of like, hey, you can be whoever you want, and striking out sources does not mean you're suddenly a negative, like disabled or mental illness or anything like that. I thought that was really good. And a lot of the stuff is contained on one page or two, which I thought was good. Yeah, I think it just could do with a list once over, maybe. I definitely think it should be split into 3 books, and even then, that second book is definitely just PDF sheets for sure. But it looks very pretty. I kind of wish that art was throughout. Maybe you know what? Maybe I wish it wasn't on white, because that white is quite glaring. Maybe like an off cream color, which I appreciate. That's very privileged of me to say that, but I just like. I think we've been spoilt recently on Too Long Didn't Read with some RPGs that are, have different creams or textures for the pages. And yeah, we do. I don't know, there's big white pages everywhere. Yeah, put art in it at least, or put something in it. And yeah, definitely like a reference sheet or a playbook or something like that. Like, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Like, are the sorry, I'm looking for them now. Oh, sorry, there's so many pages. Like swords, is that just to do with the kingdom? Like, it would be cool, like sword suit, kingdom. What are the themes of these particular suits? Because obviously cups are the ones that have like success and fail on them. That's the only thing I remember. Let's see if I can have a look. Interesting. So yeah, it says here, if I tell you what's bothering me, we can each draw a wisdom card and the challenge is solved. So yeah, there's like conditions for winning. So I like that. That's a little bit different. But yeah, I guess, would I play this game? Yeah, I think now that I realise it's not it, I genuinely thought it was like, oh, we play it over several weeks kind of game. Clearly it's not. I would definitely give it a go as a one-shot. I don't see it as a fully fledged, like, we're going to act everything out. That's the only thing I'd say as well. But yeah, I think I'd give it a go. Maybe I'd have to read it once or twice a little bit more. Maybe I would get the physical book of like the interpretation guide to read and hand out to people who were doing it in person, for sure. And yes, and I guess I did like the thing about like the tarot cards, like, hey, whatever your tarot cards like have an artwork, use that as inspiration or use that to help with your interpretation of stuff rather than the text. I quite like that. I think that's fair, because like I have so many tarot cards which are deliberately not the Rider-Waite deck. Yeah, I've got my I've got them here. I'm slowly playing through Koriko, but oh, hang on, I'll do these cards that I've used. Hang on, but like you know, that's the Ace of Cups. So yeah, like that's, I love the artwork on that. You know, so being able to incorporate it into the game, absolutely. That's the what's it called? The Modern Witches tarot card deck. Oh, try not to break that card. There you go. All right, team. Though, let's go back to Big Fiona Face. Ooh. Thank you so much for joining me today for Too Long Didn't Read. As always, I have been Fiona. None of the Nightbot stuff went off, did it? That's annoying. Normally, my Nightbot goes off and goes, "Ah, have you seen Fiona's done all this stuff?" I might have to check that out. But if you have enjoyed this, check out my main podcast, which is What Am I Rolling?, which is a twice-monthly tabletop RPG one-shot podcast. Actually, whilst I'm here, I should really... Let me find... where is... Oh, damn. I might have shut it down. I want to share that podcast of the Wickedness. Let me try and find it. Yeah, I'll share it in the site. So yeah, the Witches of Where the Keep. This is a podcast that has used Wickedness as its baseline. Written or sort of designed together by Jacob that I met at a con. I cannot guarantee its work, but like I was like, that's a very interesting thing, and the artwork has changed quite a bit. So I'm like, oh, that's very, very cool. So yeah, go check that out if you want to find out more. And obviously there's that actual play as well from the actual page itself for Wickedness if you want to see it actually done. Anyway, What Am I Rolling is my main thing. I also do the DM's Book Club. I'm going to sneeze. Am I going to sneeze? No. Oh, man. I hate having allergies. So that's DM's Book Club. if you've enjoyed this, I also have a Discord for all the stuff where you can come over and chat about TTRPG things and lots of other things as well. We've been talking a bit about Doctor Who. We've been talking about new traitors coming out. I'm excited for that. And yeah, just generally sharing tips and whatnot about how great TTRPGs are, because I think there's a TTRPG for everyone. Sorry, my brain is completely fried now because I'm trying not to sneeze and sneeze at the same time. I'll throw it in here. If you've enjoyed any of this work, please consider a donation to my Ko-Fi. Again, I don't make any money off this stuff. I just like learning more about RPG stuff, you know. And yeah, it's one of those things where, oh, could it be a career? No, there's no money in podcasting. Don't be silly. But as always, you know, I put it there at the end. Have that horrible promotion thing. If you've enjoyed any of the stuff, please consider giving a donation. It goes straight back into doing stuff and buying TTRPGs for myself. And also, finally, as it's sort of mentioned at the end there, check out RP Geeks, a nerdy TTRPG show with epic stories and fascinating facts. Yes, over on the RP Geeks YouTube channel, it's myself, it is it's Sharmini Bundell, it is Emily Bates, and next week we're going to have the wonderful Dom Allen and Liv Kennedy from Three Black Halflings playing Call of Cthulhu. I'm very excited, cannot wait to play that game. I've run more Call of Cthulhu than played it, but I love playing in horror games so much. And yeah, we've got a good team. It's gonna be fun. And yeah, as someone said in chat, one of our players, Sharmini, has never played Call of Cthulhu before, and I'm very excited for her to experience the system. I think, like, again, our mileage may vary and stuff like that, but we had a really good session, Sarah. So come check that out as well. Next week we're back to our normal Wednesdays. Hopefully, she says, fingers bloody crossed. Excuse me, I'm just like sniffling like heck. Next week we have. Next week we're going to be looking at Plasmodics, I believe that's how you pronounce it, by, I think it's Will Jobs. Plasmodics is a tabletop role-playing game of post-apocalyptic gonzo sci-fi where sort of humans, kind of animals, and mostly robots, and definitely aliens join hand in mutated hand. You play Plasmodics. The world and its debris are yours to play in. Uncover odd artifacts, wrestle with opposing factions and cryptic alliances, and see what this weird world has to offer. I have no idea what this game is. It looks bonkers. I remember, I think last year when it sort of came up, people got really excited, and then I've not seen anything about it since. It looks incredibly bright and pretty. It feels almost like a Heinz manual in a way. So yeah, I think I've got the actual. I don't know if we're looking at the PDF or a quick starters for that, but that's what we've got next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central, 5 p.m. BST. Then we're going to be looking at The Job the week after that, which has got a big Kickstarter happening just now, I think. And then I thought about, I've not put it up yet on the Discord, but I'm thinking about the, there was another, what was it called? There was another Rascal article which talked about, I think it's Revelrous, Realis, and say how great it was. But then the article didn't give a link to the actual RPG, and I've gone and bought it now, the Ashcan, because I heard it was very, very good. So yeah, we'll maybe do that the week after. But as always, if you have a suggestion for an RPG for me to look at, I'm always up for suggestions. Just either pop them in the comments underneath the video, or go join the Discord and put them into the relevant channel. I'm always up for people telling me more things, because again, as I said, some games I'm just there going like, this is absolutely not for me. Looking at you, Heroes of Might and Magic, let me tell you, that Kickstarter looks dreadful. Definitely not my cup of tea at all. But you know, if you think of a suggestion, would love to have it. You know, love to know what you love about the RPG as well, because that always is a cool thing to share with people. All right, team, I am gonna go blow my nose. I'm gonna go do some actual work now. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this. I appreciate people keeping me company as I read for an RPG. As always, stay safe. Have fun, play games, spread wickedness through your coven. I'm going to end the stream now, and I will love you guys and leave you. See you next week for Plasmodics. It's going to take me forever to get that word out of my head. Bye. See you later. Bye.